There we go. Okay, so welcome everyone. We do like to start our meetings here with a land acknowledgement to recognize the Nacotchtank and the Piscataway people, the first residents of the land that would become the District of Columbia. And every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will. Some were drawn to leave their distant homes in hope of a better life, and some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort to acknowledge what was buried by honoring the truth. We stand on the ancestral lands of the Nacotchtank and the Piscataway people. We pay respects to their elders past and present. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us here today. And please join us in uncovering such truths at any and all public events, and to use such truths to guide the legacy of this Arts Commission. So welcome. Hi, I am Carrie Kaliba. I am one of the grant managers here at the Commission. As we go through today, feel free to leave any questions you may have in the chat. I'll pop a note there just to get it started. And feel free to leave any questions there. We do have some breaks set into the presentation for Q&A, but if you just have a burning question or anything like that that you don't want to forget, feel free to drop it there and I'll make sure that we circle back to it as we go through. And hopefully we'll leave today with everybody having all their questions answered. All right, so here's the agenda. We start with a welcome. We're doing that. Look at us. We're so great. One thing done. Bill's accomplished. We're going to do a quick overview of what the program is, any changes for this current year, which is FY26. We are in FY25 right now, so this application is for FY26. Fiscal years get complicated, I know. Talk a little bit about the application itself, the narrative questions, documents, all that good stuff, and there will be time for questions at the end as well. All right. So this is our general operating support grant. We do have two other grant programs open at the moment. There's our projects, events, or festivals grant and our East Arts grant. We also have a capital projects grant, which is a lot of building projects and infrastructure grants and things. We also have the education program, so education projects and field trips. Capital projects and education projects will be opening later in the spring, but projects, events, or festivals in East Arts are currently open if those are of interest to anyone. So for general operating support, our requirements are you do need to be incorporated as a nonprofit. We fund nonprofits here under 501c3 of the U.S. Tax Service. You need to be registered and located within the district and have a primary mission focus in one or more of the arts or humanities disciplines. We do have a guide to grants available on our website. If you have questions about that, you can also come talk to us about any time. With the GOS, we also have a requirement that you have received funding through another one of our competitive grants that is either you currently have the award, current for FY25, or you received it for our last fiscal year for FY24. If you are a brand new organization and you have never applied to a grant for us ever before, then you are eligible for the capacity building cohort. That is a specific subsection of GOS. The larger GOS pool of the generalists, we do need you to have received a competitive grant in one of our other programs. We want that at least 51% of your activities occur within the district, and that all of your grant dollars go to support DC personnel and programming. Just some other kind of nitty-gritty stuff. We want you to be registered with all the good regulatory committees that you need to be registered with. You need a citywide clean hands, which I'll talk about more later on in this, and also to be in good standing with us here at CAH. Primarily what that means is that we have all of reports in from you and we don't have any historical issues. If you have any concerns or questions about reports or good standing, you can always reach out. We're happy to talk about it. We are currently, for a lot of folks, the majority of folks for this, we're in the middle of interim report season. So, make sure you get your reports in. The interim report doesn't really affect this actual application time, but in general, it's a good time to think about it. And then also have your business office in the district subject to a visit. We do not accept PO boxes or convenient addresses. All right. So just some restrictions as you go through and plan. The biggest one is we do not want duplicated work. So if you put a scope of work in your GOS application, that would be, you cannot repeat it in a later application that you may submit with us. So the example that I use a lot is if part of your programming as an organization is you offer field trips to students, and you say that in your GOS application you would have you are going to host 100 students. You cannot then apply for our field trips grant for FTE later in the year and say we support 100 students. That would be a duplicating work. But if your field trips application was we are supporting 100 students normally, but we are going to we want to expand that project and bring in an additional 50 students, that would be okay. But if you have any questions about any part of that, do come talk to us, and we can walk you through what the limits might be. But you can receive multiple grants from us. You can receive you can receive e-starts from us, you can receive capacity building, all of these things. The one thing you cannot do with GOS is you cannot receive a projects, events, or festivals grant. You can only get GOS and then an additional project grant or a capacity grant, but you may not have the projects, events, or festivals grant. That is our only one that is absolutely forbidden from having both. If you are in a position right now where you might be applying to both, that is okay. You just can only receive one of them. All right. Mm-hmm. Oh, I think I went too far there. Nope, I didn't. Great. Nope. So the application is open right now. I need to make the light work a little bit better for me. So it opened on March 11th. It is closing on April 22nd at 10 p.m. We will be available. There will be staff available until 10 p.m. I will be online. And at 10:05, I will turn my phone off and go to bed. But we do have support available until then. Incomplete or late applications that do not follow instructions may be deemed ineligible. We do have a request for applications on our website that I do recommend everybody read through a couple of times. A lot of our details are in there. As always, we do need your applications to be up to date with reporting requirements. If you are unsure of any part of that, please contact a grant manager. We'll help out. All applications are reviewed and scored by a panel of artists, and award amounts vary. Okay. And just for the paneling process, we divide our GOS applicants into 3 categories. The largest category and the most common one is generalists. This is pretty much everybody. And then the much smaller group is the service organizations. Service organizations are organizations that primarily serve other arts organizations. So this might be providing professional training or other specialized support for organizations over individuals. And if you have questions about if your organization fits into a particular category, again, reach out to us. We're happy to talk you through it. The vast majority of organizations are what we call generalists. And then finally, we have capacity building. This is for small arts and humanities organizations that have not previously been awarded a CAH grant. We do divide the panels into cohorts. We base this on budget size. And we base that around your total cash expenses for your most recently completed fiscal year. We take that from year 990. And then we take a look at your portion of cash expenses assigned to district-based arts and humanities. So we do not have a top dollar amount for our awards. It's going to be really based on where you fall in the panel ranking and on your needs. So we try to panel you within a reasonable cohort and also make awards based on need. Okay. We've reached our first Q&A, which is great because I really need a beverage. So if anybody has any questions, I'm going to try and start with these questions that came through in the chat. And then if folks have other questions, feel free to unmute and ask. So we had a question here on if we had a scope of work and it wasn't fully funded by the past grant, then can you repeat the scope of work? Yeah, we might need to talk more about what you mean by that, Simone. Do you mean if it wasn't fully funded by a current year grant?
Yeah, so we received a grant, but it was for significantly less than what our application was for. And so we weren't able to execute the entire scope of work because of that.
Okay, then yeah, you can feel free to repeat that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a question here. Would a volunteer-led organization with a nonprofit fiscal sponsor be allowed to apply? We do not permit fiscal sponsors, but if you want to send me an email, we can see what situation we have that might work for you. And then we have a question here on what is a convenient address, which is a phrase I just made up. That would be an address of the one volunteer or the one board member who happens to live in DC, but the vast majority of your programming actually happens in Maryland or Virginia. But you have one person who lives in DC, which nobody really does, right? But there is a follow-up there about what if you are moving shortly, or if you are your organization is in transit from one location to another. Just talk to us, come talk to us, let us know what's going on. We'd like to know when these things are happening, because it's just useful and we can kind of keep track of you and find other ways to find support. Okay. Any other questions from the group?
Yes, Carrie?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Nancy Nesbitt again, and thanks for all your help, especially at this time when you're probably pretty busy over there.
Yeah.
So, the same question that I did email this week with a detail of it, but essentially, what do we do about the 990 when we literally took in no money at all and spent a lot of my money, okay? And we made a lot of promises to writers, and bless them, they were happy with that, about what they're owed once we get some money, but due to unique circumstances, I guess, we don't have any at all, and we didn't have any to put on the 990N. Yeah.
Yeah, I do just I'm getting clarity for you, so I'm going to respond with,
Oh, thanks.
your issue. Yeah, because you do have
Okay.
kind of a unique situation.
Okay, forgive me for bringing it up again then. Yeah.
No worries. Yeah. All right. Okay, then I might scooch us along. Okay. All right. So there is a thing this year. This is the major change for the current year. We are offering multi-year funding this year for organizations that are currently in receipt of an FY25 grant. This is an opting in thing. And it's open until April 22nd, same deadline as the regular application. It does not require the full application. So the eligibility for the 2-year grant means that you currently hold an FY25 GOS grant, and you have received 2 additional years of GOS funding from us between FY20 and FY24, inclusive. If those don't apply to you, don't worry about it. We'll talk about multi-year funding in another cycle. If that does apply to you, we have a town hall that we recorded and is on our website for you to refer back to. But the short version of that is the multi-year funding is hoping to provide up to the same level of funding that you currently received. All of this contingent on funds that are made available to us. Our budget is not yet finalized, so we don't yet know what we have. But we're trying to match what we have, the current award for the coming year. And we'll go from there. This is an initiative that we started to provide greater stability, but if your organization does not qualify this year, you may be eligible in a future year. It's just something to think about. But all organizations do go through a review process, and this is an opt-in, not an opt-out. If you wish to apply as normal this year, that's available, and we can talk about that. Any questions about that part?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we've received GOS funding. I'm with Constellation Theater Company for the past many years. And what I'm wondering is we received slightly less this year than we had last year.
Right.
If we apply for this, I guess I'm just wondering, like, we would love to get as much as we got the year before, but would it be equal or less than the amount we got this year?
Yeah, it would be, we're trying to reach what we had, but we cannot promise an exact dollar. So it would be at or under. So it's that symbol with the alligator with the number. I'm doing my maths. If you can apply for, it would be applying for the regular cycle if you were hoping to get more, but I cannot promise more or less with that either. I can make no promises is what I'm saying here.
Sure. Is there, like, are you offering like any kind of strategic recommendation or not? You just don't
I
totally
can't.
get you.
Ethically, I cannot make any strategic recommendations for anyone. What I can do is we can send you notes and rankings and you can make a strategic recommendation. I cannot do that for you.
This is the first year that there's been multi-year, yes?
It is the first time. So we are learning as much as everyone is. So this is a grand experiment this year.
Sorry, one more question and then I'll go watch the town hall. But it would just be, so if we got it last year and we said, yes, we'd like to opt in, it would just be potentially for one more year next year, not beyond that.
Right.
Great. Thank you so much.
And we'd have a new discussion for FY27.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And then Simone, I see your hand up.
Hi. So I think I'm picking up on her question and want to confirm. If you are hoping to receive more funding than you have in the past, it seems like you would be better off just applying and hoping to receive more funding, as opposed to if you opted into this, you would be basically trying to receive the same or less funding that you've received in past years, assuming you receive anything. Is that right?
Yes, and that is also a decision I cannot make for you.
Right. Right.
So there is I see it more as you know, the intent behind it. Our intent behind offering it was that it gave you a dollar amount and some sense of, well, this is what we plan. This is what we can plan with because we have we know what this looks like for us. Because the full application is the thing of, well, we don't know. You can end up in the rankings. It's always a new group of panelists. It's always a new application. We can provide historical data for you, but I can't tell you what to do.
So when you mentioned the notes, we can obtain the notes and information from past application rounds for our organization and then read it and assess. Okay, that's great.
Yeah, just reach out to your grant manager. We've been doing a lot of that this week because we had that town hall. I suddenly had an inbox full of things. But yeah, just reach out to your GOS grant manager, tell them I need this data and we'll get it back out for you. And we're also available for conversations.
Thank you.
It's just none of us will tell you what to do strategically.
Nope, that's great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. All right, great. Thank you all. Good questions. So the application itself, the review and scoring, just so everybody knows, we have not changed any of the criteria. So if you are, you applied last year, it is the same batch of criteria, same everything. So no new surprises there. All of the applications will be reviewed and scored based on by a panel of arts and administrative professionals according to these criteria that are all laid out in the RFA, in the request for applications. So it's district impact and engagement, equity, organizational management, arts and humanities education content. And I know somebody is going to ask about the equity line. We are not changing anything. We are holding firm on that one, at least for one more year. So scoring criteria, district impact and engagement. We want to see that DC residents are your core audience for programming and services, a commitment to hiring DC, and evaluation strategies, determining your organizational impact and changes and growth from that evaluation. Equity, we break that down for ourselves between inclusion, diversity, and access. We want some plans, we want measurable goals, we want to create welcoming and inclusive environments, sustaining diverse environments, and ensuring physical, geographical, racial, cultural, financial access for audiences, participants, staff, and board. So a lot of different layers, and a lot of this is going to be very dependent on who you are as an organization. And what does inclusion look like for you? What does access look like for you? So everybody's got different things going on. And then we have organizational management. We want to see the appropriate oversight, financial controls, and expertise and personnel in place to deliver services and programming. And then finally, arts, humanities, and arts education content. Mission is in the arts and humanities as supported by the work samples and support materials, your knowledge and skills, and your personnel are the right folks to do those jobs. All right. Any questions about that part? I saw a question come through if the general focus is on youth literacy. Yeah, you would be qualified for this grant. You could also look at the education projects grant in the summer. That's coming up spring, summer. You are allowed to apply for both. And we can always put you in contact with the arts education team if you want to talk about those options. Great. All right. So a little bit of the tech side here. We're going to go over the grants portal, how things look in on the digital side of things, and go from there. Okay. So to access our application portal, as a refresher, there is our website, dcarts.dc.gov. And if you go to the grants drop-down menu under programs, you will land on this page. This is all of our information about our grants. You will find current funding opportunities listed here. So that's where you'll find information about East Arts and PEF and public art building communities, but that is a public art grant and I don't know the answers to that one. Also links to any assistance that we have offering. Later today, we are hosting our live chat. Every Friday we do live chats. You'll also find access to any of our office hours and workshops. I'm going to fix my lighting again. Information about being panelists. We are also always recruiting panelists. And then a long list of grants resources, including more information about past RFAs. If you want to look at some of our, if you're interested in things like capital projects or the education grants or things like that, you can take a look at prior year RFAs there. We usually don't change things too radically from year to year. So if you want to get a sense of what things are going to look like, that's a great way to do it and start prepping. And we also have there the grant application portal. When you click on that, it takes you to the portal. So here is our application portal, big green button for sign up today. But if you already have a login, you've got a sign in button right underneath that. You'll go to My Open Applications on the left. You do have closed applications, so you do have your prior year applications available to you. I've had a couple of questions during these cycles about, well, do we need to change anything? We felt really confident in our answers last year, and the answer is if you have them and you're still feeling good about them, great. Take some time to revise them. You know, do they still say, but if you want to use some of the same words and same answers, that's okay with me. You have that for a reason. We also have a media library, a document library, your awards, and your reports. Good time to check on reports. But you would go to your open applications. If you have not started one, you'd click on that new application button, and you'll also find any currently drafting applications there. You'll have a big drop-down menu of all of our currently open grants. You'd select the one you want. This is the generalists. Answer your quick eligibility questions, save and continue, and you're in the application. A couple of things to note here. We do have a preview button to get you a downloadable printable copy of the grant application. If you want to use that to compose any answers offline. I always feel it's important to note that the portal does not support any good formatting. So if you have really great paragraph breaks and you do a copy paste, it will take away your beautiful paragraph breaks. So just think about that as you're putting them in. We are available for reviews of application materials for compliance and completion up to 1 week prior to the deadline. As a reminder, the deadline is April 22nd. 1 week before that is April 15. As long as you have got a message to me that you need to have that review by April 15th at close of business, so 5:30 p.m., that's great. You will be on my radar, you'll be on our list. We are closed on April 16th. So the day after, that is Emancipation Day. We do observe it as part of the city, and we will be observing it this year. So we will not be responding to emails most likely on April 16th. I might check in at noon out of paranoia. But just so you're aware, we will take the time to have compliance, to have reviews if this is something you want, just so everybody is aware of the calendar. Any questions so far? Okay. So as you're working on the application, we do recommend keep a copy of the scoring criteria nearby and write to the criteria. Always we recommend avoiding buzzwords and hyperbole. And if claims are made in the application, back them up with support materials. Sometimes really helpful to get somebody outside of the organization to read responses and give feedback. I know that I really struggle sometimes with being so close to the work. That sometimes it's easy to get embedded, and I don't realize that there are issues until we're in a panel room and somebody doesn't understand a particular word or a phrase, and it's like, oh, right, everybody's doing different things. So just, you want to give a complete picture of your organization and your work and using accurate data where applicable and appropriate. The narrative, oh, I scooted too fast. Narratives, these are short questions about your programs. There's going to be things like a budget narrative. What are your programs like? The things you want to talk about. We'll be asking about programming, budget, IDEA. These are all going to be short statements. If you have applied for GOS before, you may already have some. Let's treat them as drafts. We're also going to ask for a couple of documents. We do have a full list in the RFA, but this is the list of the uploads. So we'll need a balance sheet from your most recently completed fiscal year, a certificate of clean hands, certificate of liability insurance, your current organizational budget, your IRS letter of determination, the IRS form that I left here as a ghost and isn't real, but you do need the 990. Need to take that one bullet point out. A list of your current board of directors, a profit and loss statement, resumes of your key personnel, statement of certification, support materials, work samples, and funding form. Let's break down what some of these are. But before I do that, just a reminder, we do ask for documents. Please save and upload them as PDFs. It is the easiest and the most stable file type for us to use. I know some folks are working off of Mac. I am working off of a Windows-based system, and I always have a little bit of a negotiation if I get a numbers file for a budget form or something like that. It's just easier for everyone, especially panelists, if things are saved as PDFs. Just as you are going through things, a reminder that panelists are required to review the work samples, but they're not guaranteed to read and review samples beyond a recommended number. You just want to make sure that you have a reasonable amount of things. We want a full picture, but we don't want to overwhelm. I'm going to get to those in a bit. Work samples and supporting materials as you're pulling things together. Everything should be viewable and playable before you submit. If you can't play it, then we'll also have a problem with it. If you run into issues with anything, do reach out. We've gotten pretty good at fixing little finicky things in players and stuff, which is okay. Can we submit the text for review and comment before we have completed documents and numbers? Yes. Just start a draft and upload as much as you have. If you don't have everything, that's okay. It doesn't need to be super complete. It just enough for us to give comments on. So a couple things. So breaking down some of the documents here, the organization's financial picture, this is going to come to us through three things. Your IRS Form 990 for the most recently completed fiscal year. If you don't have the most recent one, we can use the one from the year before. Your current organizational budget, and in your project and program section, some projected costs for upcoming year of grant award. We're going to need that balance sheet from your most recently completed fiscal year, that current budget, and then the profit and loss statement from your most recently completed fiscal quarter. So budget for the coming year, balance sheet for the completed year, profit and loss statement for the quarter. We do have a FY26 funding form that's in its final stages. We are going to need this form. It will be on our website. We'll also make sure to send it out and make it available. This is a document that tells us what funding you have received from other DC sources. We also need your certificate of liability insurance. This is general coverage. It does need to be current. It needs to have a waiver of subrogation and include DC as a certificate holder. So to break down those two documents real quick, this is the older version of the form. We do have a newer version almost ready. But this is a very simple funding form, or relatively simple funding form. We just want to know some of your budget sources. And this is going to be grants awarded by the District of Columbia overall for the most recently submitted 990. This includes us. So that might be grants you've received from the commission, if you've gotten anything from Parks and Rec or library or anybody else who may be awarding you a grant. We just want to know. It does not really, it's going to impact not the application itself. This is for us, it's informational. One thing I always like to mention about things like this, anytime we give you a spreadsheet, if we pull together a spreadsheet, some cells are not to be touched, and we've locked them. That is on purpose, because we have built them so that they will do the math for you. So don't adjust formulas for us. I promise you, we built them just for you. And you can just type in the boxes. I'm going to go back to the previous page because it was requested. Some boxes are not going to be editable or changeable, and that is on purpose. All right. Let me know when I can move this one forward. Great, thanks. So our certificate of liability insurance, this we just need general coverage for you. We don't need any specialty coverage. But we do need some things on it. We need to be named as a certificate holder. And we do need a waiver of subrogation against the District of Columbia and all of this. So that goes in the district description of operations box and the certificate holder box. We can provide you with this language. So if you need it or you have any questions about it, email us, we'll send you the language and you can give that to your insurer. They usually know what to do with it. I also want to note, we only need this page. This is an Accord kind of cover sheet. It'll say Accord in the top left. we only need this one page. We do not need to see your full policy. So you don't need to upload 120 pages of your insurance policy. I promise, I trust you. This cover sheet is enough. Okay. So your current board and key personnel, we want to know their board roles, their responsibilities. Same with your personnel. Maybe these are your artistic and managing directors, your educators, your staff. Key roles, their responsibility. We'd also like to know where they are, their home addresses and wards, as far as you're willing to share. We understand there can be some security concerns and privacy concerns. And especially with the resumes of key personnel, the panelists should be able to assess the skill level of the artists and administrators involved in the work to be created, exhibited, or taught. Then the 501c3 letter of determination. This is just that letter you get from the IRS that says you are an arts organization and that you are tax exempt. And you can, if you have it on file, that's the one you need. Your most recently submitted 990. This one should be the one that has been signed by you and your tax preparer. And then your W-9. We do need a new W-9 every year for the way that the government has us process these awards. Just a couple of things. PO boxes, again, these are prohibited. We do want your address to match the address in the portal system and in the payment system, which is DIFS. If anything is changing, your organization is moving or in transit, let us know. If it's the kind of thing where this week we're here, but in 6 months, we're definitely going to be somewhere else. Again, just let us know. We'll help you with that process. It's not something we have to do today, but we would like to have it kind of on the radar so we can help you make sure we get those transitions moving forward. It's got to be the March 2024 version. It's got to be dated at the time of application, roughly, and then signed in ink or with an e-verified digital signature. So form looks like this right now. It looks just like the old one did. But up in the top left, it says revised March 2024. The old one was October 2018. So we do need a newer one on file. Name should match all documents. Address should be in DC. Get your EIN on there. And then, of course, the signature in ink. That's going to be a manual signature or a verified digital signature with the time and date stamp. A lot of services now have digital signatures if that's what works for you. Adobe has it, DocuSign has it, Dropbox apparently has it now. I need to go investigate that. I got an email last week about my personal Dropbox account, but I want to go check on that for everyone. Or if it's on your phone or a tablet and you sign with your finger, all okay. The big thing is we just can't have fancy signatures or fancy fonts, I should say. Then we've got the certificate of clean hands and the statement of certification. So certificate of clean hands, if you have never done this before, and that should not be the case, the vast majority of you have done this before because you've had a grant with us before. You go to mytax.dc.gov, you download a new certificate. If you have never done this before and you're coming in for capacity building, we're going to need a clean hands. You go to mytax.dc.gov. There is a section for clean hands. You're going to follow some prompts to get your certificate for the first time. If you are at any point when you do this process, you cannot get a certificate of clean hands or it says you are non-compliant or something, that's okay. Just let us know. It's okay if you have something going on at this time, just let us know what's going on so we can help and how we can support. If you do have a certificate of clean hands issued after April 2020, and this should be most folks, you should have one on file that's got a notice number in the top right-hand corner. It starts with the letter L, and then it's about 12 digits long. If you use that and the last 4 digits of your EIN, you can validate a certificate of clean hands, and that is a much faster process. So on the clean hands section of the website, of the MyTax website, which has a very cheerful woman holding open a door that says open, there are 3 options: request, validate, and learn more. If you have never done this process before, you're going to request a certificate, and that's where you're going to follow the prompts. If you have done this and you have a form on file, which may be sitting in last year's application, you're going to validate. You'll get that. I need your notice number. We need the last 4 digits of your tax ID. So it'll be the EIN. And then you just keep clicking next until it gives you a form. And that will be the one you can save and update. This is also, you might end up getting a notice of non-compliance. I always feel like warning people because we are kind of in that tax season. So sometimes it says something. Clean hands just means you don't owe the government any money over $100, which can be anything from a parking ticket up to your actual taxes. And since we are in tax season, things are always, or at least personal tax season, things are always a little fuzzy at times. But it's okay. It is okay. It's good to know and good to check. And like I said, if you can't get a clean hands form for whatever reason or something comes up, please just let us know. We're happy to work with you on that. All right, then the statement of certification. This is a form that we require, that the district requires. It just tells us who is allowed to talk to us about your grant. A lot of folks, you can just self-certify. Otherwise it might be this is assigning the role to your finance person or your grant manager, whatever it may be. But we do need this. So it's a 4-page form. We have a fillable PDF on our website. You only fill out the first page and the last page. So the first page, you're going to fill in the organization name, check the box for 501c3, put in your address, and put in the grant program. For this one, it's going to say FY26 General Operating or FY26 GOS. You will need this if you are applying for multiple grants to just make sure you have the right grant program. And then, you know, whoever is authorized to negotiate on behalf of you, you can, as I say, you can just self-certify there. The internal 2 pages are for your information. Last page, we just need a signature again. Signature, name, address, all of that. With all of our documents where we ask for a signature on it, just to reiterate, it needs to be an ink signature or a verifiable e-signature. Typed in or fancy fonts do get rejected. And the information here should match what's in everything else. Just good to check, make sure all your addresses are right. Okay. And then finally, there's work samples and support materials. Just a note for everybody that panelists review only within the 4 corners of the application. They're not expected to click on outside links or content. So anything that just is a series of links may not be seen by reviewers. So you can have up to 3 internally produced support material. That might be curriculum, strategic plans, marketing materials. 3 externally produced items like reviews, commendations, testimonials, and then work samples. We do have a work sample addendum for all of this. It really is going to depend on the organization and the work that you do. Roughly speaking, like 2 videos about 5 minutes each, up to 10 images, and then 15 to 20 pages of papers if you're mostly a text-based organization, or some combination of that, maybe 1 5-minute video and 5 images or something like that. The goal is not to have so much, but still enough that tells a full picture. If you are uploading media like photos or videos, we have some direct uploads and some 2-step uploads. The direct uploads, you just drop in a link from YouTube or Vimeo. This is also a great place to title your work and to give us any passwords or time codes. So if you have something like an hour-long recording of the spring student showcase, and you want us to really focus on 5 minutes of it, that's great. You don't need to edit it down. You can just tell us, this is the spring showcase, forward this to minute 22. And we'll do it. That is totally fine and totally reasonable. The other thing you'll do here is you'll up also any images you might have. If you've got photos, if you've got some extra materials you want us to take a look at, you'll upload them here. If you do that for things like documents and video or photos, that stays in your media library. And then you'll attach media from your library here in the application. So you've gone through most of the parts of the application, you're in the work samples and uploads. You would attach media from the library here. You click on that, gives you a pop-up window, and then you would click on the items that want to attach. And I'm just gonna skim through some of this part. We've talked about a lot of this. So then just a couple of tips and tricks, and then we'll start wrapping up here. We do need a new statement of certification for each grant application. E-signatures, like I said, there's a lot of tools available. Also, we are perfectly happy to send you something. If it's I'm just not able to sign a W-9, I will email you a copy in a signable format. I'm happy to do that for you. Certificate of insurance, if you need that language from us, let us know. I'm gonna make sure that my email here is in the chat, and we will send that out for you. Clean hands, we do check on your organization status multiple times during the cycle. But it is easy to just do that validate process. And as I said, if you run into any issues, just let us know and we'll go from there. And then just a reminder, PDFs are great. They're much easier for us. And they're much easier for everyone. If you are having any problems with converting files or you have any questions, reach out. I've gotten pretty good at how to convert most things. All right, any questions so far? Yes, the NEH and the NEA, proceed as normal for right now. We will let you know if anything changes for us. We are also aware of everything going on, but we are operating as normal until otherwise. But we will, if anything changes, we will let everyone know. It is a valid concern. All right, so just so everybody knows, we do have live chats. We have 3 more this year. This is every Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. If you sign up for one, you have signed up for all. It is the same link for all of them, so you don't have to keep re-registering. They're 2 to 3 p.m., so I will be back here in a few hours, ready to answer questions again. We also have in-person chats. This is new this year. We have 1 more of them coming up. This is if you want help with anything in person, you want to sit down with someone, you want us to help you with paperwork or scanning or anything like that. You know, we do ask for a heads up. We do have an Eventbrite for that where you can register, but you know, that is an option. Finally, this is our annual plug for panelists. We are recruiting panelists now. You would not be permitted to review your own section or your own cohort, but you could review other GOS applications, or we might ask you to be on a PEF panel or one of the other panels. They're a lot of fun. I think they're fun. But we do offer a training for that. You would review the applications, and then we would have a 1-day panel meeting, and they're all, yes, if you work for an Oregon DC but do not live in DC, you are allowed to be a panelist. That is fine with me. I've had panelists call in from very far away. We learned a lot about time zones in the last 5 years. I've had panelists call in from Italy and from Hawaii and lots of other places. I am totally fine with it, if you are fine with it. But it's a lot of fun. It's a great thing. You get to learn a lot about work that is being done in the city. And sometimes I've had many conversations with people where it's they have found a new possible collaborator, and my only request is don't tell them how you found them. You found them organically. You absolutely didn't review them. But that's a part of the training. And then, you know, we have a panel. It's fun. It's a great time. If you're interested, let us know. Great. How many applications does the reviewer receive to review? We're trying to keep it around 15, 20. We're keeping an eye on the number. We don't want to overwhelm anyone. And usually it's okay. But we'll go from there. And also it could be a thing where you don't want to do this one, but maybe you want to look at the fellowship at the summer, because those are different, and a lot of them. And then this is our staff contacts. There's Terrell Johnson, our senior grants officer, and then me. We are your primary contacts. You can also reach out to your grant managers. If you are current grantees, which most folks are, you do have a grant manager who is a point of contact for you. They are happy to answer any questions. And that is the end of the presentation for the day. But I am here to answer any questions you may have going forward.
Carrie?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Nancy Nesbitt. If I do want to volunteer to be a grants inspector, I guess,
Yeah.
are all the meetings online, or are they in person? Really?
We do everything online.
Okay, great.
We've
You've got
had
to
requests to
volunteer
come
then.
back.
You've
Oh,
got to
wonderful.
volunteer.
Yeah, perfect.
Thanks.
We'll reach
Thanks so
out.
much. Great.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm going to also go ahead and stop the recording here.